Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome to another edition of P2P TV. We have a very special conversation that's going to take place tonight. This past week, we have been celebrating at the Zion Church 9 years of our pastor, Pastor Nathan Austin, and his wife, Lady Kimberly, being the pastor at the Zion Church Pompano. We have been celebrating them all week in different ways, creative ways that we came up with to celebrate their 9th pastoral anniversary. And we wanted kind of to culminate it all, bring it all together with this conversation that we're going to have tonight, what we're calling the father-son conversation. I have the privilege of being under the leadership of Pastor Austin as his son in ministry. I really attribute everything I've been able to accomplish in ministry and some things in life. I attribute it to his mentorship and his teaching. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be very candid and fun conversation as we kind of chronicle his 9 years as being pastor and some things that are going on now, what the future will look like. So we're really looking forward to this conversation with Pastor Austin. At this time, I'm going to bring in Pastor Austin, and we're going to get right into this conversation. Welcome, Pastor A.
Hey, what's going on, son?
Nothing much, man. How you doing today?
Doing well, man. Just, got a Bible study, man. Had a wonderful teaching tonight. We started this new series in Psalms, Psalms 23. I believe people were blessed by it, and so we're just here. This is different from me on the other side of the glass, if you would. I'm usually the one asking the questions, but I'm honored to explore this topic tonight. Hey, it's been 9 years, and we're looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. And I'm honored to be hosting it tonight. It's the funny thing about this, and the good thing about it is Pastor doesn't know really any of the questions that's going to be asked. He kind of knows the topics. Me and Jazz came up with some questions.
Oh boy!
Ask just some topics to go over. We think that the people of Zion and people that have been watching and following your ministry will appreciate some of it. So we're light, real fun. It's been quite a journey for you, and you're still right in the thick of it. It's not like you're toward the end or anything. So we're just kind of chronicling what has happened thus far. So really looking forward to it. We're excited about what the future holds, but also what you've been able to accomplish already. As your son in ministry, I've been there to see a large part of that, and to be a part of much of it. So it's been quite the journey. Time really does go by fast.
Yes, it does.
Just after Jazz today, I asked Jazz the other day, what year did I get to Zion? I'm like, so
yeah.
So I wanna start. We're gonna go right into it. Right at the beginning. What did the beginning look like? What did the beginning look like for you? Becoming pastor, or before you became pastor. What did the beginning look like? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Wow, the beginning of coming to Zion. It looked nothing like what I was used to in church. I had the blessed privilege of being um, really all of my life a part of what I believe is one of the greatest churches in the world, the New Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church in Miami, Florida, um, under the leadership formerly of Reverend Dr. Arthur Jackson Jr., which was my original father in ministry. He was the one that licensed me and kind of got me kick-started and thrust into ministry. And then after his passing under the leadership of Dr. D.L. Powell. And so Shiloh is a massive church, building, seats some 1,200 people. Under Reverend Jackson in his heyday, that church was filled to the rafters just about every Sunday. And so for me as a young preacher, not even 30 yet, coming into Zion, it was a culture shock to me to see a church really kind of that small with that few of members. And so it was different, man. It was definitely different. I was kind of minding my own business, just kind of working there with Pastor Powell as officially director of media and marketing and director of ministries there. And one day I got a phone call that this church was looking for at the time, just an ordained preacher, someone to help administer communion. I believe it was the first Sunday in August of September of 2010. And so I went there and preached and did my thing. And hey, things started rolling from there. And so what was the interesting part about that, my wife of that time, over a decade, we preached there, and I've been preaching, all over Florida, all over the country in some parts. And she had said something to me that she had never said to me before. I was an applicant of other churches. And on the way home, she says, "You're going to be their pastor." And my response was, in a nutshell, "You are out of your mind." For one, I just didn't think that Zion wanted me as pastor. And honestly, I just didn't think it was going to be a good fit. The size of it, the size of the building, the membership, and knowing some of the things where I was, I just didn't think it was going to be a fix. But she said that to me, and wives have this, whatever they have, and she was right. I was there, and I basically said in a very private conversation with her that there's no way that they would be able to really afford me to be their pastor, just based upon where we were as a couple at the time, and salary and what we were doing. I can kind of tell just by being there from an economical standpoint that I didn't see how that was going to work. And she said, "It doesn't matter if they call you, you're going to go, and we'll figure the rest out." And so that's basically what I did at that time.
Wow. And you kind of seamlessly went into my second question, which was, how did you end up there, which you explained.
Well, to kind of get in more detail, that I went there and I preached. They invited me to come back to preach again. I believe around that time it was their church anniversary, which in that time they celebrated around September. And so I went there again. And I thought it was kind of interesting because I was just going, and there was no talks about me being a pastor. I was just going to preach, and just decided to go and preach at that time. I was preaching a lot of places, but they kept calling me back, and we kept making it work. And I kind of felt that there was a little interest when they asked me to come for watch night. And I went there for watch night, and I remember talking to Deacon at the time, and he was telling me what they did at watch night, their tradition. And I basically was like, "No, I'm not really feeling that. If I want to come, let's have church. Let's kind of do it some things." And he kind of gave me carte blanche to kind of set the order service and things of that nature. And then I was kind of like, okay, I didn't expect that. I really thought, because honestly, I was kind of hoping they would say no, because I had some other opportunities. But he said yes, that they would kind of work with whatever plan I gave them. And it did. And we had a powerful night, man. It was more people there that night that I had seen the entirety of the time there. And so that was December. And around January, a friend of mine had left his church, transitioned, and he asked would I be his successor. And again, Zion and I, we had never talked about, me being the pastor. I was just kind of preaching and kind of getting to know a few people. And so I announced to the church that, hey, it's coming to deacons that, hey, this opportunity is opening up and I think I'm going to accept it. And that's when things started taking place. They kind of gave me the kind of a hint that, hey, man, we kind of want you to be our pastor. And so long story short, next thing I know, I was the pastor. The church had a meeting and they elected me as the pastor. And so that was my first Sunday there was the fourth Sunday in February of 2011.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. Is this what it about what it looks like?
That's the Zion. That is it. That is the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church of Pompano Beach Incorporated. That is what it looked like when I pulled up there 9 years ago. Yes, that's exactly what it looked like.
Wow.
That was the outside of it,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think
that's almost scary looking at that picture now.
It looks nothing like that. Wow. A lot has changed. My next question, real simply, what was, maybe in one word or a few words, what was your first impression of? I know you said it was small. What was your first impression?
You know what kept me saying yes to the invitation, not to, be arrogant, but, I had a lot of engagements. But what kept me saying yes to Zion was the people. They were genuinely, I'm a simple guy, and the people were very genuine. They were very genuine. And the fact that I can tell that they were looking for a pastor, it was an older church. And I was a young man again. I wasn't 30 yet. And, they never, ever treated me like a young man. There were people there that are still, many of them are still in place. They're in their 60s and 70s. And I can honestly say they never treated me like a young man. They always treated me with respect. They always honored the gift that God had placed on the inside of me. And so that's really what kind of kept me coming back. I just began to like the people. I later found out, I thought this was something that they did, but they served breakfast, man. They served, good breakfast, man. Grits, eggs, bacon, sausage. People like Sister Cecilia, who I see is watching, her daughter and her husband, they threw down, man. I think they won me over with the cooking because I thought it was something that they did. I later found out that they were doing it really for me. But yeah, that's what kind of kept me going. The love of the people. And really, honestly, when I made that call to kind of change and deviate from the norm of what they did, and they didn't reject it, at least the people I talked to, they didn't reject it. I started to get a sense that it was a church that needed leadership and was willing to grow with someone who they trust can lead them in the right direction.
Absolutely. So, and I think most of that is, still true to this day. The people,
yes.
Even for myself being there, when I got there, I felt welcome, man. I felt like, I didn't know what the need was, but the people, made sure to love me, and they haven't stopped ever since. So I can absolutely attest to that as well.
So I remember saying, "Oh, they never saw that church." Yeah, this might be eye-opening to a lot of people who kind of joined
back up
a little later on. That's one of our faithful members, Sister Dawkins. She might have passed right by that building. But yes, Dawkins, that was the building. That is what the Lord sent us in 2010. Yeah, that man, I'm telling you, the more you show that building, the more I know we were walking by faith and not by sight.
And there's a few more pictures I'm going to show in a little bit that's going to kind of show what it was and kind of what it is now, what it's become, which we'll get to.
Interesting. Quick story about that building. I remember when we wanted and I never had really too many fights about anything that we've done, but I remember I went, one of my first things, I was like, hey man, you know, we need to, you know, we may not have a lot of money, may not have a lot of members right now, but we can get some paint. You know, let's get some paint. And I remember I've never really been a guy. I've never really been a person to like believe in voting on everything and all this kind of stuff. I just kind of believe in leading, you know. I came from that type of leadership style. And so I remember painting the church and nobody knew the color. They thought when I said paint it, we were going to repaint it white. And there's no way in the world I was going to do that. I hate white. And so we painted the church, and oh my God, people was like, well, who told them to paint it that color and all this stuff? And it's funny that several years later, we go around Pompano and we see that color a lot now. And so we were kind of a trendsetter in that regard as well. But that's just an interesting story about I remember that, looking at that building, I remember that conversation.
Wow. Yeah, a lot certainly has changed since this, that's for sure. So it's your first day and kind of looking at everything and figuring things out. What did you think initially the biggest obstacle was going to be for you?
I knew that, you know, as you know, I'm big on themes. I'm big on models. I'm big on, you know, direction. And so, and my wife, she gets a kick out of this. I knew just by kind of getting the feel of, you know, doing my own personal demographic research about the city of Pompano and kind of getting to know the people, just doing my time there. I knew that they needed motivation. I knew that there was a lot more in them that needed to be pulled out. And so, you know, I wrestled with it, and I like to kick a lot of things with my wife, and I was like, babe, we need a theme. We need something that's going to motivate them. And I remember saying, you know, what about the sky's the limit? And she said, well, you don't sit your stupid, said, that's the dumbest child. She said, you're not no youth pastor. You are a senior pastor. You need to go back to the drawing board. And so I began to kind of pray. And my first sermon ended up being the theme of our church, position to prosper. Psalms 1 and 3 was the first sermon that I preached at Zion. Maybe the second. I forget what I preached the fourth Sunday, but I remember the first Sunday in March, I preached position to prosper. And my wife came home and said, that's it. That's what we're going with, position to prosper. And, you know, we've been riding that theme ever since. That one sermon, it's amazing. One sermon 9 years ago still resonates right now. That's all we know. We're P2P. Of course, that position prosper has evolved now through the years to kind of shrink it down to P2P. But really, man, that was one of my first sermons there. And it just resonated, man. It resonated. It was really something that I sought God about. Like, God, I need a word. I need to set the platform. I need something. And God said, man, preach this. And the rest is history, man.
Wow. And that, you'd almost think we planned this because you segue right into another question.
I really am your father. It's like, I promise you, I don't know. We didn't plan it.
He sure doesn't. So yeah, you know, you kind of answered that. How did P2P come about? You know, and that you absolutely answered it. I believe I knew that story, but there are a lot of people that didn't know that. There are people commenting now that did not know that.
One sermon. It's like My Woman Thou Art Loose, just not as popular as Jake's. It's kind of, Or maybe we can get, maybe if I can find it. Maybe I need to re-preach it now in this new digital age. Because back then, I don't even think it was recorded, man. We weren't even recording stuff back then. We had no video, no CD, you know, we didn't have a good sound system back then. So maybe I need to just act like we never did it and record it again, and maybe it can blow up a little bit. But that's us, man. You know, we're positioned to prosper. I really believe that. God said he shall be like a tree. We should be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters. You know, this leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever we do shall prosper. And Zion has done a lot, and God has been true to his word on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, you know, everything we do is centered around that position to prosper. If it's not going to position them to prosper, we don't want to do it.
Right. And that, man, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but that journey, that terminology, man, you can't come to Zion and not hear that or see that. You can't talk to a member, and if you talk to them long enough, they not say something about being positioned to prosper. I mean, we had bumper stickers, we had, you know, our first shirt. I mean, it was crazy, man. It just went crazy. We're talking about a church that never probably had this type of thing, and it spread like wildfire. And it's still our thing to this day.
Yeah. I think, and I believe it's going to keep being that. I mean,
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That is what we want to do. You mentioned something really over the last few questions about your wife, Kim, and you know, it's clear that she has played a major role. So my question for you is, how vital has she been? How has she been vital in your life? You mentioned some things about, you know, the P2P, you know, even just you being there,
right,
was really from her. So how vital overall has she been to your success at Zion?
Wow, she is so vital to my ministry and to Zion that she has a greater title than me. They call me Pastor A. They call her the bishop.
Yes,
she is the bishop. That is her title. That is what she is known by. Not Kimberly, not First Lady. She's known as the bishop. I really do believe, and you know, she'll fight me on it. I think she's greater gifted in ministering than I am. A lot of what I do goes through her first. She vets my mind. And she's getting out of the shell a little bit, but she's gifted. She is gifted in the area of motivation. She's gifted in the area of encouragement. Most people think that I'm an encourager, but the truth be told, even during this quarantine, just about everybody who needed encouragement has been calling her, you know, and it's not been because they didn't want to necessarily bother me. They call her, and she has been a source of inspiration to both male and female, young and old. She has set the pace on modern day first ladies. You know, we came from New Shiloh where the first lady wore hats and sat in the corner a little bit, and that was fine. But she was a model of ministry. She led. She was the youth ministry along with her and Sister Hudson and others. But she was vital. She was over our scholarship. She was over. You know, she dealt greatly with the women and just about everything we did, because it wasn't many of us. And so, you know, whatever I couldn't do from the pulpit, she was able and willing to do it using her God-given talents, man. She had young girls group and tutoring and mentoring, and some of the young women still to this day look up to her. And so, you know, the mothers of our church, they love her to death, man. They, you know, I believe they love her more than they love me. They might try to debate me on that, but she's just gifted, man. Now she, you know, if you know her, she'll cut you too now. But for the most part, she shoots it straight. That's one thing I believe everybody loves about her, is the fact that she shoots it straight, and she does it with me too. She doesn't spare me as well. She's a straight shooter. She says what she means what she say, and she doesn't really come off of it too much. only by the help of the Holy Ghost. But really, man, she's been gifted. What would I be without her? She has been my partner in crime in everything I've ever done, from business to, of course, me and my wife being a first lady. Everything I've done, I haven't done anything without her. And so she's just been a jewel, man. Really has. See out of all the comments, I've been talking 20 minutes. And maybe 2 people said something. I started talking about the bishop, and now the whole screen is filled. I told you, man. She, I don't know what it is about her, man, but she's able to get responses that I can't get. So that's why I keep her around. Don't tell her I said
that. Yeah, and I think a lot of people just like real. People appreciate real, and and you get that from her. You get real. Did you, initially or at some point, did you and Kim have a conversation at all about her role? What kind of first lady you wanted her to be? Was there any conversation, or did it just kind of genuinely happen? Was there any talk about that?
I think, again, what it was not a lot of us, and, they didn't know me. So she was one of the few people that knew me, knew what I liked, knew how I liked it, knew my style, knew, the way I like things handled, at the level I like them to be handled. And so, again, we've done business before. And so, we kind of took on Zion as really our business, really from a spirit. This was our business. We were going to make sure that it didn't fail up under our watch. And, what happened, and, she's very laid back. You will not know, you may recognize me as the pastor, but many people won't recognize her as the first lady, because she's going to have on some tennis shoes. She's just laid back. But she was kind of able to get away with that a little bit, because when we got to Zion, she was pregnant. And so all of the fancy stuff, first ladies wore, she couldn't wear them. She was pregnant. So she had to wear what she could. And I think, people just accepted her wearing what she could. And after, she had the baby, it was kind of like, hey, well, I ain't dressed up all this time. I ain't want no hat all this time. I will keep it rolling, and truth be told, some of the ladies who dressed up before started taking a cue from the first lady. And then next thing you know, everybody started dressing down. It was like, you only wore a suit on funeral days and stuff, but it really started, when you go back to old pictures, man, I had on robes. I was wearing robes and I was real dignified. But the church began to take the cue from her. And next thing you know, we all in jeans, man. Mothers in t-shirts and stuff like that. So she understood it very quickly. I don't think we've ever had a conversation about it necessarily. It was just more organic. It was just more, hey, I'm going to be what I need to be for you until somebody can take my place. Similar to youth ministry and other roles. Before you, Sister Hudson. God bless her. She kind of picked up that baton for the youth ministry. She quit on me. No, she didn't quit. I'm just messing with her. Her son took a role, and she gracefully kind of used her opportunity to be with him. But every role, she was able to fulfill it until somebody else was able to kind of step in and take the place. Because she claims she don't want to do anything, but she's willing to do it until somebody's able to do it. You see her? Yeah, she's always been rolling with me, man. She don't let me walk the neighborhood. I guess she must be thinking somebody gonna want me or something. I don't know.
You're gonna make this right there.
She right there with her hands on her hips. Look, ain't no telling what she's saying to them folk, but
yeah, I think many people appreciate her. Not just her authentic self, but also just all the work she does, man. And not to be seen behind the scenes. If people only knew how much work she really does behind the scenes, and really wherever the help is needed. She helps with the department all the time. So she's always involved wherever she needs to be involved.
She barely comes to church, man. That was one of our biggest arguments. Like, hey man, you know, are you gonna get a word? Do you not like my preaching? She just don't come to church, man. She's, you know, when we had 2 services, she was cooked. She was on the praise team, dash out, go to cook, you know, come back, do praise and worship, and sometimes go across the street to the youth department or whatever, sit in on the kids' rehearsal. I'm like, well, dang, I mean, are you gonna come to church? I mean, just come to church, you know. So yeah, you know, she's all she's when she gets to Zion, she puts her skates on. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, she goes to work. That's for sure. She doesn't go to be seen, Holly. She definitely goes to work. And you know, I think I'm sure we both can agree. She's been vital. You know, she's been vital in that process. She's been vital in what you've been able to accomplish at Zion. Speaking of what you've been able to accomplish, what are some upgrades that have been made? We saw what the building looked like when you got there. What are some upgrades, some changes that have been made since you got there? You know, inside out. Speak on that a little bit.
Wow. Well, not to sound arrogant, I don't think it's anything at Zion that's there now that was there when I got there. I think at this point we have 100% renovated the entire campus, and now it started with the paint on the outside. It went well. I think before the paint, we started working on a sound system. You know, just bringing in a sound board, cordless mics, monitors. I mean, we had an old piano when I first got there. We upgraded. Yep, that's it. They had the piano. Yeah, that piano that's covered up. You know, I know this is a culture shock to some of our newer members. That I remember taking my first pictures. That curtain was my backdrop. Me in a robe. That curtain was my backdrop. You see all the wood paneling. This was Zion in 2011. This was it. You know, pulpit, and you know, if many people know where I came from at Shiloh, you know, honestly, coming to see this was it was like going back in time, honestly. You know, the red curtains, the big podium, the chairs. We had a deacon and deaconess corner. We had the drums. Yeah, that was it, man. So we gutted all of that out. We didn't do it all at once, but we phased it out. You know, I believe this was the second phase of the internal renovation, and you can see, you know, we took the chairs out, put the pews out. At this time, we added screens, video screens, and you know, we bought a new organ and changed all the furniture. You see now the preachers are no longer on the pulpit. We're off in the corner. Deacons is kind of separated. You know, we got them out of the corners, and so yeah, this was probably maybe year 3. Maybe by year 3 we had done just about what you see in this picture right here. I want to say year 3, year 4. I can't quite say, yeah, you know, lobby area did not have that. I believe that was maybe year 6 that we did that. Year 6 to year 7, we added that vestibule area. You know, we just every year, and you know, for some that may be watching, every year we took on a project. Every year we had a vision. We took on the project. We set the project out. We told the people what we were going to do. I think that was the old Zion. You know, we were feeling that place, man. That was the old Zion. You see the windows to the left of the screen there with the design on it. Those windows were not there. We had, I think, bars, and some of your old Zion can certainly testify. I think the windows rolled out at the time, and so we put those windows there and we etched those. Man, I remember, you know, we did that etching. Nobody had seen that before. Like, man, what is all that drawing? We never seen anything like that. So we wanted to be we were going to do it. We wanted to do it, man. And so, but every piece of renovation we did, Yeah, that's the fellowship hall. That's what the fellowship hall looked like in 2011. That is probably the picture we took after we first started the renovation on it. But that was the picture, man. You can see we're kind of getting ready to paint it. But that was it, man. That was the fellowship hall. You know, it looks nothing like that now. But that's where we were, man. We were having good time in there. But that was another project. We did everything in phases. We did every single thing in phases. We wrote the vision, as Rebecca said, made it plain, gave it to the people, and the people stepped up to the plate and gave. We were authentic and real with what we were going to do with the funds, and everything we set out to do, we did it. And to God be the glory. We made it work.
Absolutely. And what most people may not know is that the vestibule area, that was outside. That was the outside on the first picture of the church. So
when you was out there, it used to be outside. That was outside.
Closed all that in, and now that's a high traffic area now.
We didn't have that before. You know, when you walked in Zion, you was in it. You was interrupting service. When you walked through the door, you was in church. There used to be a board, but I think you was there with the board. I remember. I'm not as progressive as some people would think, but I remember you guys talking me down by not putting that board back up. Again, this was before the lobby. So I was like, hey, man, we still need something. The board had a purpose. I believe old school says you don't tear a tree down unless you know why the tree was planted. The board was there to at least give some type of separation from walking inside the church to being in the middle of service. And you guys argued me down like, no, Pastor, no way in the world we're going to put these pews and get rid of all this, and we're going to put this big old board back up. And so you guys won. We removed the board. I think we put a little table there or something to kind of at least give that separation. This was, I think, years later. Look at Pamela, like, you're kidding me? Pamela probably wouldn't have joined Zion if it looked like that. she probably wouldn't have joined if it looked like that. But yes, Sister Dawkins, that's what it looked like when we first arrived. But so yeah, I was gonna go back old school, man. I was gonna put that board back up, and Zion probably wouldn't have said nothing because they never really fought me on it. But some of you progressive thinkers were like, nah, Pastor, we gonna fight you on this, bro.
Board. So obviously, and I saw Jazz comment. She said every time she came back from school, there was something new. Like there was some kind of renovation, something had been done. As far as renovations. So it looks completely different now. Is there anything else that you really want to upgrade, or any upgrades you have in mind that you want to work on at some point?
No, I think as far as upgrades, I think some of the crazy upgrades I got. It's just I'm trying, I'm trying to think of digitally, man, how I can kind of enhance some things, but just the finances may not necessarily allow me to do them. But I think at this point, I'm trying to think. We put new AC systems in both areas. Everything is new. The bathrooms are new. We completely new bathrooms. We installed that in that area. Every single thing that's in Zion now is at most is 9 years old. And so, that is tremendous progress for what some would consider a small, older church. When I was young, they used to tell me that it takes 7 years to start pastoring. The first 7 years, just go in there, man, preach Jesus, he died, got up with all power in his hands, and don't bother those folk for 7 years. So with that logic, I would be in year 2 of pastoring, meaning don't make any changes, don't change anything. And the crazy part about that is I changed a lot of things without changing people. If I look back over my ministry, the one highlight, the same chairman is still the chairman. The same person over finances is still there. We just started making, up until this year, the same person that was over pastor's aide still there. We just made that change and moved her to another position. But the greatness of our ministry is that I didn't have to overthrow anybody to make all of these changes. Usually, man, as a 29-year-old guy coming in making all these changes to a church that was at the time over 60 years old, that's unheard of. That's absolutely impossible. But God gave us grace to be able to make those changes without any fussing, any fighting, very minimum. Those that maybe said a little something, they kind of left gracefully, and we praise God for them as well. But as far as to do something with the building now, I think at this point we're kind of maxed out with what we can do, and it's time to kind of look towards something a little different.
Absolutely. This next question is two-part. It's been 9 years. Obviously, some of it has been good, some of it has been not so good. If you can think of maybe one instance for each of these, what has been, in your opinion, the lowest low in these last 9 years? And then on the flip side of that, what has been the highest high?
Wow, the lowest lows was when I first got there, and it wasn't really a low. Of course, when you go, you want everybody to like you. And I had about 90% of the people love me, but it wasn't 100. And I, knowing who I was, knowing that I love everybody, I joke with everybody. And there were some people that I went out of my way to do right by, and they left the ministry. And so it was a low. When every time anybody leaves your ministry, as a pastor, it's a low, because what they're saying is, hey, I'm not for you. I don't like you. I don't support you. I don't think you're the one. And knowing that God has placed you somewhere, because God knows I wouldn't be at Zion if it wasn't for God, it was a low. I had to get over the fact that my ministry and our ministry was not for everybody. We were doing some things out of the box, man. We were dancing. We were having good time. We were enjoying Christianity and Jesus Christ. And for some people, they just couldn't take it. And so I had to understand and appreciate the fact that everybody wasn't going to be for me. And it was better for them to leave gracefully than to stay and fight. But at that time, I couldn't see that as a young pastor, because, hey, I'm a new kid on the block. Hey, who wouldn't like a guy who's growing the church and, making all these good changes and all these type of things? I'm not stealing money. I'm not sleeping around. I'm not doing. Who wouldn't like this guy? But everybody didn't like it, and so they had to leave. And so that was a low for me as well. Always a low for a pastor is when you lose someone. I mean, you lose them to death. I've lost some great people, man. I've lost some great people. I've lost a few mothers. We established our mothers ministry, and I believe we did that in 2012. And I've been losing a lot of my original mothers lately, and that's been kind of driving me crazy. Sister Maydetta Stone, we lost her recently. Sister Wilcox, we lost her recently. Others, man, that we've lost recently, man, it's kind of hurt me, because those were the members that embraced me when I went there. They supported me. They were like my grandparents, and having to funeralize them and other great members, that's always a loss. People rarely realize that pastoring is like a roller coaster. There's a highs. There have been times I've done a funeral and a wedding on the same day. So I've experienced a low, probably funerals before, and then I had to go right back to a high of a marriage. And so, but every time, I haven't lost many, thank God, but every time I lose a member, it's always a low for me. As far as a high, man, we've had some great highs, man. The last high was our our LOZ Hallelujah night. Man, you know, you're talking about a high. We had what, well over 500-600 people that we were able to bless in the neighborhood anytime. That's it, man. You got them. Anytime we're able to be a blessing, that's the trademark of our ministry. We believe in being a blessing. We go out of our way to bless the block, bless the community. And yeah, that was October of 2019. We had well over 500 people at Joy Night. That was a high for me, man, to see those kids running around, to see those robots, see the rock climbing and all those people, to see the whole neighborhood come out to Zion. They're coming to Zion. They're not, you know, this was unheard of 9 years ago, but the entire community comes to Zion. And so that's always a high for me. That's always a high.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, as a pastor, as a person, you value things outside of the pulpit, outside of preaching, outside of the church. What are some things, you know, that you're proud of, that you've been able to incorporate, you know, as far as for membership, as far as for the community? You know, everybody that knows, you know, you have a very giving heart personally and pastorally. So what are some things that you and the ministry have been able to do for the community and empowerment as far as the members of Zion?
When I think about community, I think about our summer camp, which was a project of the bishop. You know, she was in the school system, and she really wanted to do something for young people. She understood that Zion is located in a very low economic area, and she wanted to have a summer camp. We had no budget, we had no money, but she wanted to pull it off. And I believe 5 years ago, we started with about 50. And we've had it ever since. We got so big at one time, we had it in 2 locations. We had to sublease Antioch, Greater Antioch, because we had over 100 kids one year. We'll never do that again. But when I think about things for the community, and I mean, our summer camps, you're not gonna pay. At that time, you didn't pay over $200 for the entire summer. And to see parents who would have had to keep their kids home, but we were able to offer an affordable summer camp, is something that, you know, again, we had one of the largest summer camps in the city, probably one of the largest in the county, without any fanfare, without, you know, but we did it, man. That was her baby. That still is her baby. And so that's definitely one thing. Was always a proud moment as pastor is to see people prosper. You know, we take this position of prosper thing to heart. That's not for the pastor. That's not, you know, hey, I'm driving this, I'm living here. Hey, I still live in the same house now that I lived in when I arrived at Zion. Position to prosper was not for me. It was for the people. When I look back over these 9 years and I see people such as the Carson family, who was living in Golden Square at the time, who now has a beautiful home built from the ground in Port St. Lucie. I think about position to prosper. When I think about Corvin Reckley and Stacy Reckley, who were struggling to find a house, to do something because of some things that had happened in the past, and to see them to be able to dedicate their house again in Port St. Lucie, it does my heart good to see a member like Velma Stewart, who's my wife hairdresser, who came to our church. She was lost one day. She came to our church, and now she's closed on a house. Her 2 sons have closed on a house. She's now doing hair, and she's in the school system. I think about that. I think about your mom, who also was renting, and now she is a homeowner. I think about yourself, man, and looking at what you've done and been able to kind of get you on your feet as a young rookie in the sheriff's department. Now, a husband, a homeowner, being able to be there for all those different occasions, and just various people, man. I've done more home dedications than I have child dedications in 9 years. I believe last year alone, we did about 7 house dedications in 1 year. And that's amazing, man, to see members. When we talk about position to prosper, we preach on being the lender and not the borrower, being above and not beneath. To see people that were stuck in rent cycles for decades, now homeowners. I know one couple, they're looking for their second home. And it's just been amazing. And we have more to come. A couple just came to me the other day, new to our church. They came back to our church and they whispered in my ear, Pastor, we're building right now. I don't know how far it's out there, so I won't call their name. They're watching, they know who they are. They're building right now. I like the fact that people want to come to me with this information because they're saying, Pastor, we listened to you. We heard you. We came to the Homeyers meeting. We understood and practiced the principles that you gave us, and we are being positioned to prosper. Man, we almost have to start a campus in Fort Pierce, man, because Port St. Lucie, we have several of our members that are living there now, man. And so when we talk about what we've been able to do, that's been a joy for me. Everybody's got a new home but me. I'm trying to do that. I'm behind now. But we've been able to do something. We try to make sure that every 6 months we majorly bless someone. We've done it every year. We haven't really stated it that way, but trust me, every 6 months we're doing something major. We're doing something major right now, blessing families during this season. This is nothing new for Zion. We've been able to do this. It is in my mind process to be a blessing to people in need. When we talk about positioning them to prosper, we are blessed to be a blessing. We've done, we've paid light bills. We've done, there was a young man, and I think he played for Ely football team, and he got hit. He was there, and he was close to being paralyzed. We were able to raise close to $2,000 for his recovery. We've done these types of things. We breast cancer. We gave a local breast cancer organization, I believe at least $1,000. I think year before last. And so every year we try to pull, and we don't have thousands of members. We don't have multi-billionaires, but we've been able to pull the resources of our church together, and we've been able to be a blessing to so many people. Not for recognition. Many of them don't go to our church. Many of them have never been back to our church, but we don't do it for that. We do it because we know God sees us, and because God sees us, he's going to always make sure that he continues to give seed to the sower. We believe that.
Absolutely. Wow. And I think the crazy part about it is, man, this is just the beginning. We have privately talked about things we want to do for the community and for the people as well. So it's crazy to see what has been done already.
Right. We need God to bless us real big, because we got a big heart, man. There's some things we're trying to pull together now, for our young people. And so, anyway, that's why I'm always asking God to bless our ministry financially, not for me, not to build pastors' coffins, but I believe God knows our heart, and he knows that we're going to, recycle that. We're going to be a conduit to pass those blessings on to others, because it is our job to position the people of Pompano to prosper, not just the Zion Church. We want to position Pompano to prosper. That's our goal.
So I want to use this moment right before the next question. It'll kind of segue into it. I'm going to show you, it'll be one picture at a time, 2 pictures. And I want to see if you, one, can remember the title of the sermon you were preaching. And 2, tell us what was going on in the picture. Okay, so here's
Wow. Well, that podium there lets me know that was a while ago. I believe that sermon was called Messy for My Miracle. I believe that's what it was called. Being messy for the miracle. That is Damon. When he told him go wash in muddy Jordan. And I, as you see, I put, I remember dipping down. Every time I would dip down, I would put more mud on me. And them people was like, what in the ham sandwich is wrong with this guy? I mean, I would go down, I would have the mud there, and every time I would go down, I would put more mud and go down. I was getting messy, man. I was messy. And that I think that's when they kind of realized this Negro's crazy. Yeah, he's crazy. He is getting messy. He's sure getting messy.
Wow.
Wow, that's a throwback.
You've had some interesting illustrations, that's for sure. I think that creativity is everybody don't have that. I'm not sure if I have that gift.
You got to be crazy, man. Because I had to get in the car looking like that, and my wife was like, "What? You need to take a bath."
All right, here's the next one.
Whoa. Okay, this is funny because one of our good friends, Tasha King, brought this back up to my memory about a year or so ago. I was doing a message on giving, and if you look closely, those still, I was clean too, man. That's a bow tie. I told man, I used to dress up, boy. I used to be clean, man. I don't even wear suits anymore. But I was talking about breaking free of the bondage of debt. And so I have on a set of handcuffs, and those stickers are credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. And I was talking about every time we swipe those cards, it's like putting handcuffs on financially. We walk around in handcuffs. So I preached the message. It was on a Sunday. It looked like a first Sunday. The communion table is there. So, here's this young joker on Communion Sunday with a bow tie on, preaching with handcuffs. And yeah, that was the beginning of me really teaching on debt-free living, breaking the bondage of debt. So yeah, that was it.
Wow. I think I may have one more.
Wow. I don't remember this sermon. I remember it was for young people, obviously. Yeah, we see the young people in the, so I believe, I can't remember that one. I got on a cape and everything. I don't quite remember that one, but yeah, that was definitely, I'm sure it was illustrative. Maybe I started to fly off the stage. I probably jump off the stage or something. I do not remember. I think it was, I may have been talking about going into your prayer closet and coming out like Superman or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. My wife, maybe she remembers a lot of these antics that I do, because she has to go buy this stuff for me. She's the prop purchaser. That's one thing I'm gonna get, when the Lord ever bless us. I'm gonna have a prop budget, I got a closet. Man, look at this. This is Brother Hicks and Marche. This is, what is it? This is Noah's Ark. That's what that is. Yeah, that is Noah's Ark. So we turned the stage into a whole ark. We have the you know, you see the front of that is kind of, the wood is at the bottom, and so it's kind of carved out. We have the panels, like, you know, the what do you call those things? The where you get pallets, that's what it's called. So we painted the pallets, and we got, again, we kept the tag. We borrowed some animals from Michael's and wherever you get animals from, because we take all this stuff back. You know? That was watch night, what, 2018?
Yeah,
Designated survivor.
Yeah.
No, it was 2017. 2017. I'm a designated survivor. 2017 was a really low moment in my life. I was on suicide watch a lot of that year, going in from the summer on into December. And every year I do an illustrative sermon. And this one was not for the people. It was for me, that I survived 2017. And we got those t-shirts. I'm a designated survivor. God designated me to survive what it is I was going through. And so we talked about Noah surviving the storm. And man, that night was incredible, man. I remember that night. It was man, it was phenomenal that night. And God really blessed us that night.
I've been blessed to be a part of quite a few of these illustrations.
Right. Yeah, you know, when you're in my team, you're on my team. So yeah, that was watch night 2019.
Mm-hmm.
You know, prison break. You know, Mache, you know, I have wonderful free labor. Mache Thomas is kind of like my set designer. And so usually around August or September, I start giving her my ideas for what I want to do. And so she can kind of work on it because she's slow. But she weren't waiting for it, though, in case she's watching. But that was prison break. Paul and Silas, man. You were Silas, I was Paul, or I was Paul, you were Silas, whatever. And we did that thing, man. You know, a lot of this stuff is, you know, anybody who knows me, man, it's scripted, but it's not scripted. You know,
right.
You know, most of what we did was not scripted that night. We were just free flowing and just talking, man. And the people were blessed by that. Next thing you know, the prison, you know, I'm a sloppy preacher, so usually everything kind of breaks at some point. At some point in the illustration, it's gonna get destroyed. So everything we do is really for one usage. That's it. You know, so we don't spend a whole lot of money because they take the stuff, they move the stuff that they got to take back, they move it away from me. So they know it's in my path. They go out to buy it.
So that kind of leads me to this next question. How has your preaching changed since becoming pastor? Whether, you know, from before you were pastor to once you became it, and even since you've been there, how has your preaching changed, if it has?
Wow. So I started preaching in 1997. So I got to Zion in 2011. By the time I got to Zion, I preached, I mean, easily well over 500 sermons, 800 sermons, you know, easily. And so my idea was, hey, man, you know, I got a repertoire of messages. I can go back into the recycling bin. Everything I have done will be new to Zion. Well, upon arriving at Zion again, God had given me the thing, position to prosper. Well, of course, all these 800 messages wasn't nothing about position to prosper. So had to go back to the drawing board and begin to preach as a pastor. One of the gifts I discovered that I had was the gift of teaching and motivation. And of course, being practical. Those are really my traits. And I try to use all of those traits throughout the month. Just about once a month, I'm doing something illustrative. If it's not full-blown illustration, it's a story, it's something with a prop. Even in this virtual reality, we've done that because I believe in painting a picture in preaching. You know, when I was not a preacher, not a pastor, I would just preach sermons. You know, I was not responsible for the souls of those I was preaching to. So I would just preach great sermons, man, just great, you know, shouting sermons. But when I became pastor, I realized I was responsible for their soul. I was on Soul Watch. And so I'm a senior pastor teacher, not senior pastor preacher. So in the midst of all I do, I still like to preach, but I like to teach. I like to be fundamental in my teaching. I don't consider myself to be a brilliant scholar by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like that's one of my weakest area is preaching, to be quite honest. So I try to bring stuff down to the lowest common denominator, to where even the child, my 8 or my 5-year-old, would understand it. And in me doing that, it has really allowed me to reach more people than I would have been able to reach, you know, preaching, you know, Greek and Hebrew. I use that when it's necessary, but for the most part, I try to be very practical in my preaching. Most people love my teaching probably more than my preaching. And so I'm slowly, even now, becoming more and more of a teacher. I like to do it. I like to have my lapel on, like to walk around and really engage the people. So I believe that's really how it has changed down through the years. I'm becoming more of a practical teacher, more of a modern day Joel Osteen, if you will, just maybe with a little more energy.
I almost said something, but I'm not going to say it. But yeah, that was a decent.
And the Bible.
Also, here's another question. How, and we talked about how your preaching has changed, but how has the Zion Church changed you overall? Being their pastor, being the pastor at Zion, or pastoring in general, how has it changed you?
It has changed me to appreciate more. Quite honestly, man, when I got to Zion, when I first got there, it was a shocker in all areas. One of the greatest shocks it was is that finances. We took a major pay cut in finances coming there. You know, I didn't, and I don't advise this to anybody, but never take a job without knowing what it pays. I'm just going to say that. I didn't realize what the church was able to pay until I took the job. And I remember saying, gee, I haven't made this much money since high school. And they was like, by the way, we want you to be the full-time pastor. I said, there's no way in the world I could be a full-time pastor with this salary. But it changed. I talked about this in Bible study tonight. It changed me thinking of what I thought I needed and what I was living off a lot of wants. We were in a good place. I was doing well financially. Wife was doing well financially. She was in the school system. We were kind of still living off of my salary. So we were able to use her salary to do a lot of stuff, man. We were traveling. We were season ticket holders to the Heat, to the Canes. We were cruising every year, sometimes multiple times in a year. We didn't have any children. So, man, we were living the life, man. We had money in the bank. And all those things are good. But it helped me to really, I don't want to say humble myself, because I wasn't that I was prideful, but you just kind of get used to things. It allowed us to really, because she was geared towards being at Zion no matter what. She had said it up front. Doesn't matter what they pay you, whatever we got to do, whatever life adjustments we're going to make, I believe this is the place you need to be. But it allowed me to really narrow down my needs and wants list, which is why I teach, on finances now. Zion really helped me to begin the process of teaching on finances the way I do now. So that's one of the areas. The other area is it's caused me to appreciate small. The thing that I did not like about Zion 9 years ago, I love about it now. Zion is small enough, it's big enough to make an impact, as we've been able to see, but we're still small enough that we can still care and be a family. One of the things I've loved, and what people don't understand about Zion is, you know, when I got there, I still have these names on my wall. It was 85 names on the wall that voted. Now we're talking about children, babies. You know, the real number was probably about 40. You know, 40, give or take 50, but 50 would be stretching it. 85 people were on the roll, officially on the roll, and anybody knows the roll, take the roll and cut it in half, basically. But we're in the hundreds now. But we are still as small in the hundreds as we were in the 85. We're still a family. And as we continue to grow, that's one of the things that I love about Zion. And you said it when you arrived there. They treated you like family. That spirit of family is so strong at Zion that it amazes people when they walk through the door, because nobody feels like a stranger. And so what that has helped us to do, and the thing about it is Zion was not like that when I arrived. They were coming off a tumultuous situation with pastor, people kind of feuding with each other, but we were able to, the love that Kim and I had for each other kind of rubbed off on everybody else. And now it's the most loving church you ever want to be a part of, man. We'll fight for each other instead of fighting against each other. And that's one of the best things I think Zion has changed overall. And it's really changed me as well. So, man, it's just been one of those things.
Next question. Has there, I guess you can pick one major one. Has there been any failure, and how did you deal with it? How have you dealt with something that you would consider a failure since you've been there?
Yeah, if you haven't failed, you never tried, right? You know, there's some things that, and I won't even call them failure because the story of it is still written. But, you know, there are some things that maybe naive of me that I wanted to have accomplished by now. You know, I made it no secret. You know, I believe Zion is bigger than where we are from a logistic standpoint. There's some things that that I would have liked to have purchased or begin the process of purchasing. And so I kind of consider that as a failure. Most people at Zion wouldn't, because, you know, we are further along than we've ever been in a very long time. I won't say in the history of the church, because the church has a great history, but we're further along than we've ever been in a very long, long time. But as far as failures, most of my failures are internal. I'm very hard on myself. Just about every Sunday, I feel like I failed, because most of the things that I set out to say and do from the pulpit, I don't get to do. I don't get to say. So, but as far as just major failures, I want to say, and I'm really trying to think, I think I failed Zion a couple of years ago when I took on too much. I began to see, and you know, as you've been very helpful in this, I overextended myself in a lot of areas, and I made myself do more than I should have been doing, and it probably has stifled the growth of some of the people in the pew. We have people in the pew that are doing things now that they probably could have been doing some years ago, but I was taking it upon myself to do it. And so that's one of the things I feel like I failed at, is that I did not allow, because I'm a very stickler of how I want things. And, you know, if they're not going to do it the right way, I don't let them do it. And so I didn't allow other people to fail. And so now that I'm getting a little older, a lot of these gray hairs and some other things, I'm not able to do a lot of things I want to do. And it's getting bigger than I can handle. It has forced me to allow other people to do some work. You know, you're doing this tonight. I would never thought that, hey, no, man, I'm not gonna let you do that. I look at social media. We have a multimedia ministry, in a sense. People are doing things, man. I was doing website, I was doing multimedia, I was doing all of it, man. I was just doing everything. And a lot of things just kind of got cut off. If I couldn't do it, I wouldn't even present it. But now I'm allowing other people the opportunity to fail, because God has shown me if we are going to grow and become bigger than what we are right now, it has to be done with somebody else besides Kim and I. And so, and our marriage took a chin for a moment because of that as well. We were just doing too much. And so we've kind of learned our lesson from that.
And I think the A team has been birthed because of that need. So I think that's been a huge blessing as well. That group of individuals.
Yeah, we've done some things. Again, we've done things with home. This COVID-19 really kind of killed our stride, man. We were striving. We were doing some things. The 18, which that was a past story. Was that a past story? It's been a year. 18 was that was October, right? It was a past appreciation gift. Okay, I was gonna say, Lord, please don't tell me that was a year ago, Jesus. Okay, the month of October. For those that are watching, what was gifted to me was a team. Brandon, who knows my heart, he knows Zion doesn't know half of the things. I think him and Kim know how crazy I really am, because they get all of the stuff. But they realized I could not implement all these things by myself. And so they formed this A team, and we've been able to take off and do some things real quickly. We were able to start our mission. We never really did mission outside the four walls of the church. They implemented that. Tawana Rogers kind of took that on. Social media we've kind of been able to do some things in social media that we weren't able to do before, because I was the one doing it. We have content creators. I got people, calling me saying, hey, Pastor, give me this. You got to post. I was never used to that before. So the A team has been a blessing. And really, we haven't even scratched the surface with some of the things that, we plan to do. And it's because I don't have to do it all now. I have people that now I have runners. See, before I was writing the vision and running with the vision at the same time. Now you guys have allowed me to write, and you guys are willing to run with it. And that's why we've been able to do some things. We're going to be doing some even greater things moving forward.
Absolutely. Getting down close to the end here, bringing it kind of to present, and you mentioned it briefly there. How has it been pastoring during this pandemic? What is your overall view? What have you had to do? What have you had to shift? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Wow. Pastoring during a pandemic. Who would have ever thought, right? This pandemic came quickly. One day we were having church in the building, and the next day, we were able to, hey, we weren't in the building anymore. And it has been interesting. I always knew that we wanted to be ahead of the curve as it relates to not having church in the building. We set out to say, hey, we're not going to come in the building because of fear and finances. Okay. What we did, you were there. God gave me the wisdom to have a meeting, to have a plan, to have a strategy as to how we were going to handle this pandemic. Getting the data, your wife and yourself, you had some advanced data, if you would, and you guys, kind of presented it to me, and hey, this is what it's going to be. And we had to make a decision. We had to move very quickly. So we had to make sure that we were able to survive in this virtual world. And we had a meeting. We omitted our Bible study, and we had a meeting with the congregation, and we told them, hey, this is going to be our code red. If things shift as they are projected to shift, we're going to have to do some things quickly. we're going to have to hit this code red. And the code red for us, we instantly became what we call the Acts 2 church, which was we were going to have church from the house. We were going to have virtual church. We were going to everything that we did on Sunday, we're going to do online. Well, of course, it sounds good in theory till you have to do it, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, you're scared. You know, I'm not a televangelist. I'm not used to preaching to empty chairs. I'm not used to setting up studios at the house and all these types of things. And of course, if I'm not used to it, the people are not used to it. So what does that look like? Are people are going to log on? Are people going to, you know, forget about the church? You know, what are they going to do? Are they going to, you know, we started not having church a little earlier than some other churches in our area. And so, hey, are people going to just go? Because in that meeting, quite honestly, a lot of people still wanted to have church. They wanted to keep going. They like, Pastor, no, let's have church. Let's have church. And so I had to make the pastoral decision not to put the risk. Of course, looking back now, was the best decision. But, you know, 6-7 weeks ago, you know, in the month of March, we made this decision in March. A lot of people didn't see it that way. And so we had to make a decision as a smaller church, you know, hey, what are we going to look like? We've never really fully had 2 feet planted in the virtual world. We've streamed services online and that kind of stuff, but we've never went full throttle in the virtual world. And so we had to make a decision. We were going to walk by faith and not by sight. And we had our first online service. And, you know, just to give some people some contacts to make you laugh. So, you know, this is new to us. We, you know, a lot of people don't even know this. We decided, okay, we're going to do the service. So it was the 5th Sunday in October and in March. We record the service. We said, okay, let's go to church. We're going to record. We're going to do this. We're going to preach the sermon, do all that. And I was nervous. Never preached to empty pews before. And I did it. Had a wonderful time. We did all that. Praise team came in. We did the service. And lo and behold, nothing got recorded. We were ready to go. And bam, nothing. We've been there 2-3 hours. I'm tired. I preached the whole sermon, Jack. Everybody did praise and worship. They did the thing, and boom, nothing. Lord have mercy. What are we gonna do? So I snatched some equipment from the church and like, well, listen, we got to pull something off. We got to do it at home. So we did our first online service at the house. Didn't know what we were doing. Kim and I, we're fussing and fighting because I wanted to do PowerPoint. I still wanted to make it look, because we had the PowerPoint, we had all that, and Kim had never really did PowerPoint for me. And so, you know, she's trying to do it. I'm training her like in 5 minutes. She ain't doing it right. I'm fussing her out. I'm steady. I'm looking at her more than I'm looking at the camera. It was a disaster. We did all that. The first day was a disaster, but finally, you know, we pulled it off. We were like, hey, let's not overcomplicate things. Let's just try to figure something out. We didn't have any type of equipment. I didn't have a microphone to record on. We had nothing. We woke up that morning, thank God. Stores were still kind of open. We went out, spent all this money to get this equipment, to do all this type of thing, and we made it work. And the first service, it was nice. It was beautiful, man. Nobody knew any different. And so we learned from our mistakes from there and kind of still did some things. But it was the giving, you know, honestly, I'm a pastor. I've got to look out for staff. I got to look out for, you know, our bills. We had a discussion that day about the bills. You know, a lot of our bills are still the same as far as FP&L. You know, when you are a commercial property, a lot of your bills, the way they're set up, if you're smart, you kind of set them up to be recurring. You know, we kind of set them up that way so, you know, they don't spike out. So all of our bills are kind of like stable. So even though we're not there, our light bill is still kind of the same and other things are still the same. And so I had no idea how that was going to look like financially. You know, we had some things in place, but only a small few of the people were using it at the time. Most people were giving, you know, at church. And so I was a nervous wreck about that. Hey, man, how are we going to do? I was telling Kim, man, you know, hey, we're not gonna get, I'm not looking to get a salary at all. We're gonna have to tough this thing out. We got to go into our savings, we got to do all this stuff. And so we were in fear. We were talking faith, but we were in fear. But as the weeks went by, the first time we saw people were logging on. People were engaging. People were excited. People were starting to give. We went from that to first Sunday in April. Same thing, people logging on, people doing this, people giving. And, here it is, all of March, all of April, we're still standing. Everything we've done on Sunday mornings, we do now. Youth church, we do youth church on Sunday. Youth Bible study, we do that on Sunday. Many people don't know we do youth Bible study every Tuesday night. Bible study virtually, adults and kids. We've added to the platform. We've added P2P TV where we've had content, and we started that out. We didn't know how that was going to take off, and we started with young adults, hot topics. We were already trying to figure out how we're going to do that. We say, hey, we're just going to go for broke. We're going to use this platform to give people an opportunity to see what Zion does. And now we're it, man. We're just about every day we have some kind of content coming from Zion Church. And who would have ever thought moving from March to now that we would be in this? But it's been interesting. The most difficult part of the pandemic is I'm a people's pastor. So what pains me the most is missing that one-on-one personal contact, hugging on the people, kissing my mothers, loving on them. They're watching us. Many are watching right now. Many log on Sunday, but just to see their face. Again, we're a smaller church. We're a family church. And so, the only time I get to really meet and talk to them is on our prayer line. But that's been the biggest problem. But outside of that, man, we've been able to meet every challenge, and it's been a blessing.
Awesome. So we will end it with this, and we'll wrap it up. What is next for you and Zion? And it's kind of a three-part question, if you will. What is next for you and Zion? And talk about life after pastoring.
Wow. And before I do that, I'm just shouting out some of the people that I'm watching. Many of them I said something about, but I'm looking at a member we mentioned before about members. Maydell Hicks. Maydell Hicks, man, she's been my ride and die for day one. She makes no bones about it. She always used to say when she thought people didn't like me or people was going, she say, yeah, wherever he go, I go. And at the time, the car was just getting her to Zion. But when we talk about positioning to prosper, to see now God has blessed her, great job, good truck. If Zion do get crazy, she can roll with me now. Members like that who I've seen in a bad state in their life, and to see how they brag on the fact as to how God has positioned not just her children, grandchildren, part of LOZ. She's got grandchildren that just recently graduated through LOZ. And so just to see someone like her, she would be one of the poster children of Position to Prosper. When we say Position to Prosper, this is what we mean. It doesn't matter what position you are in life. We believe that if you get connected to Zion, God has great things in store for you. So I saw her there, and I just couldn't help but give her a shout out. But life after pastoring, man, that is interesting. I've been trying to tell people of Zion, they don't believe me. But I believe that God has me at Zion for a season. Now, I'm not bowing out tomorrow, but I've never felt I got to Zion before 30, but I never felt that I was going to be at Zion at a very, very old age. I believe that God wants me to pass the baton of leadership on probably earlier than some people will expect me to. And I've been blessed, man, to have many talents, many gifts. God has blessed me to write a book. I'm really working on starting next week, starting my second book. And so there's a season of my life that I want to take the experience of writing and take the experience of being in church administration. I want to use that gift to bless other churches and bless other ministries and help other churches transition, whether it's through pastoring, and kind of get them structured. So that's the next phase of my life, really. I've been in church since 16 years old. I've been preaching since 17. From the age of 17 to in the next few weeks, 40, I've probably missed Sunday service 15 times. I mean, not being in church, literally, maybe 15 times. And that's probably stretching. Even when I'm not at Zion, I'm sometimes and most times in church. And so for myself and my wife, who's been there with me, I believe I owe it to her to live life outside of the church. In order for me to do that, I believe I'm going to have to kind of pull away from Zion, earlier than some people would expect. Not tomorrow, but I don't see myself definitely being in my 60s pastoring, and so there's some things that we're putting in place behind the scenes. And I think it's not a secret to people a part of our church that you and your wife play a critical role in that. I believe that God has placed you in our lives and in the life of Zion for a reason. And you're a guy with multiple talents and gifts, and we try to, as pastor, expose those gifts as much as possible. But as we move forward, we plan on going the route of Moses and Joshua, Elijah and Elijah, passing the baton of ministry to someone who can run the race behind me. I don't want to be guilty of keeping the baton in my hand just because I'm still able to run. I believe if I do it right and I pass the baton of ministry to somebody else, they can run further, farther, and faster than I ever could. And so that's what I see life. I would love to get Zion to the point where we have built. And it's interesting because we're in the building program in our church now, and what this pandemic has taught us is church is going to get smaller. But I think we've kind of already outgrown Zion. In a sense, I think if nothing else, we certainly can agree that something has to be added on to our building, whether it's classrooms or multi-purpose facilities. Something has to be done because we've outgrown the building and facility as a whole. But I definitely want to leave that as a legacy of our church, whether it's purchasing a building, building a building. Certainly, we want to do that. But once that is done, we're going to really begin the process of passing the baton of ministry on so that, hey, I don't have to go anywhere. I can still be around. I can kind of lead from above, if you would, kind of be more of play an overseer role, but passing the baton of ministry on to you, unless, hey, somebody comes and snatch you up and there's greener pastures somewhere else. But that's really the plan, man. That's really the goal. And I believe, Zion can embrace it, man. They love you just as much as they love me because you have my heart. They know Jasmika. You guys have our heart. You're our children. It's just, I know your mother is on the line, but I treat you as my son, as my oldest son. I don't treat you any worse than I would Noah or Joshua. You guys are our children. And we want to see the best for you. We know that God has some greater things in store for you. You guys will go a lot further than Kim and I would ever go, because God has just gifted you to do some things. And so Kim and I, we owe it to ourselves to be able to do some things outside of pastoring. We love Zion. We'll never not love Zion, But hey, we've been in this thing a long time, and I've been preaching almost 25 years now. And again, I've been in church just about every Sunday for 25 years. I've given the church all my good years. And so, I owe it to myself to kind of do something else on Sunday sometimes. So that's what I see happening. Unless God says anything different, that's the plan. Sometimes we make plans and God laughs, but I think God honors plans, I really do. And so that's where we are.
Wow. Excellent. Got no more questions for tonight. I think this is awesome. And to everybody watching, we appreciate you for tuning in. I'll give Pastor a moment to, if you want to have some closing words, but thank you everybody for kind of tuning in on this conversation between father and son. We just wanted to kind of really talk about his 9 years and what he's been able to accomplish and what it's been like, and some insight that, some people may not have known. So thank you for tuning in. We'll end with giving Pastor a moment to speak either to Zion or just in general as we close the session
out. Let me say, of course, we spoke about Kim, but our entire family, man, has been on this journey with us. My mom, God has blessed her to be alive to see us make it through these 9 years. We did lose. We both doing this journey. We lost both of our fathers, but we thank God for our mothers. Both our mothers who I mean, Zion loves them just as much as we do. Renee Davis, my mother-in-law, Ruby Fryer, my mother, they sow into Zion financially. They sow spiritually. They watch us. Thank God for this virtual reality. My mom watches our service just as much as she watches hers. And so we could not have made it without them. My aunt especially, OC, who's watching this, who if she's still watching this, she's been like a second mother to myself and Kimberly as well. She too has made an integral part of Zion. They love her as well. Our families have played a big role in what we have done. Again, coming in 9 years ago, I was not even 30. And for a church to embrace me, I was pastor for over a couple of months, a month or two, before anybody asked me realistically how old I was. I believe it was Minister Reed that just kind of asked, and he didn't even ask it in a main way. He was just like, hey man, we don't even know how old you are. And so they were kind of surprised that I wasn't 30. I don't know if that would have changed anything, but Zion has loved us from day one. Every one of my mothers have loved us from day one. Shout out to one of the best chairmen a pastor can have, Deacon Dwelly Striggers. All of my deacons, man, I can call them all. Deacon McLeod, Deacon Thompson, Deacon Stevens, Deacon Jones, Deacon, man, I'm gonna miss some. I shouldn't have started calling them. All of them, man, both Joneses, Deacon Wiggins, man, Deacon Fan, all of them, man, Deacon Macon, all of them, McLeod, all of them, Thompson, all of them have been wonderful. But Deacon Striggers, man, he's been my chairman for day one. And he's been such an inspiration that many people thought we knew each other. That's just how tight we are. That people don't understand how uncommon that is in the church realm. People are so used to pastors and deacons fighting. I can honestly say most of my deacons are old enough to be my father. Some of them are old enough, besides Courtney. I can be his father almost. I'm just kidding. But some of them are old enough. Deacon Jones is in his 80s. Some of them are old enough to be my grandfather. And they have respected me from day one. Every crazy idea, they have backed me every time, because they knew that, basically when I arrived at Zion, we were making below minimum wage, that they fought to make sure that I've been well taken care of. Even the times they had to do it out of their pocket. There were times where deacons went in their own pocket to make sure that Kim and I and the newborn Noah was taken care of. That is unheard of in this day and age. They didn't know me, but they saw the God in me. They saw that every Sunday I would give my best. Every Sunday I would preach my hardest. Didn't matter how many people showed up. We did our best. We never shortchanged the church based upon money, based upon the crowd. We always gave our best. And because of that, we have grown to be the church that I believe God is pleased with. And so I wanted to give some major shout outs to, man, just members in general. You guys know who you are. Guys that on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, check on us, put things in our hands, pray for us, call us, make sure that we are okay. If you don't do it for us, you do it for the children. You spoil our children. I'm telling you, Vanessa Henley, I see you on the line. You spoil our children. You go above and beyond we can ever ask or think. And certainly that is what motivates us. When you tell us, hey, you've done enough, we want to do more, because you guys give us the energy. You provide us the zeal that keeps us moving. I know there are times that you want me to just go somewhere and just lay down. Sometimes I can't because I feel guilty, because I and we want to be the best pastor and first lady we can possibly be. And we honor you guys for that. This has been a wonderful journey. Again, we could not have asked for 9 better years. I have pastor friends that are at much bigger churches who have not had the success that we've had since I've arrived at Zion. There are people that have bigger budgets than we have, and they have not been able to do pound for pound what we've been able to do. We have fed people. We have clothed people. We've helped people. We built things together. We have taken a church and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in renovations, and we've done that without breaking the bank. We've done that in many cases cash only, by raising money, by giving sacrificially. You guys have done that. You have been the real heroes of these 9 years. We could not have done this without us. There are members of our church that would have never known what we started with, but we've taken the little and we've turned it into more, and we're going to take the more and eventually turn it into much. Why? Because God is positioning us to prosper in this pandemic. There are churches that won't survive this. I want to suggest not only are we surviving, we are better because of this. We are stronger because of this. We know that we have greater potential because of this. Who would have ever thought 9 years ago, with no technology, with barely a working sound system, that we would be able to do this thing virtually, that we can still do Bible studies and have church without even coming to the church? That is a miracle from God. In 9 years, we cannot take what God has done for granted. This is our year that we would have been celebrating the fruits of our labor. It is not just the fruit of my labor. It's not just the fruit of Kim's labor. It is the fruit of our labor. Everything we have done it together. I could not have done it without you. There is no leader unless he or she has someone to lead. I believe that Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. You guys have seen the Christ in me, and therefore you have had no hesitation in following me. You followed me in some of the craziest places. You followed me as we walked blocks. You followed me as we've had church under tents. You followed me to God. You followed me when we wanted to go into City Hall and make our voices be heard. You guys have followed me. And because of that, we want to say that we love you. We want to say that the best is yet to come. We want to say that it's our job that whenever God says it's time up, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 3 years from now, we want to be able to say we have left Zion better than when we found it. That's our number one job. Not to hang around to get all of the credit, but we want to make sure that when our season is up, it's been 9 years already. Time has flown by. But when our season is up, we want to be able to say that Zion was here in 2011. And now look how far we have come. Continue to position yourselves to prosper. I want to see and do more house dedications this year. I want to celebrate with you with more promotions and more blessings. There's some of you on the periphery. There's some of you on the verge, the Nikishas of the world, the Tawana Rogers of the world. You guys are on the brink of greatness. I'm claiming it by faith already that you're going to be the next ones with the houses, that we're going to be dedicating your houses because you have been faithful over a few things. And I still believe God's word is true. When you are faithful over a few things, he will make you ruler over many. I have enjoyed our journey. I've enjoyed this night. It has brought back memories that we've forgotten about. I like doing this. Now, I will say you guys owe me an anniversary. Number 10 is going to be one for the decade. So let's start planning it now. We went on the boat for 7. We celebrated a little bit in 8. We didn't do nothing for 9. So 10, we got to do something. I don't know what it is. We got to do something big. Let's do it big, man. Let's do it big because we serve a big God. And, you know, we're at a big church. We don't let the building define us. We know that we're already big because we serve a big God.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And thank you for wanting to do this and being a part of this. And, you know, a lot of this stuff, a lot of people didn't know. And we'll make sure that we plan something big for next year.
And we just scratched the surface, man, of the 9 years, man. Yeah, we just scratched the surface a little bit. Y'all start digging up more of those pictures, man. I don't know. I may start crying, man.
Awesome. Well,
this has been great, man. This has been great. Awesome. And people were watching. I wasn't sure if this was going to be worth watching, but I see people are still logged on. So that's a blessing.
Yeah, this has been awesome. You know, and I think a lot of people appreciated it and enjoyed it. So we thank everyone that is tuned in and still tuned in, those that have been on with us tonight. And, you know, just sat in on this conversation between us. You know, we hope it was enjoyable. And we appreciate all of you for supporting us through this pandemic and supporting this ministry and always tuning in to P2P. Stay tuned for some other things we got coming. You know, obviously tomorrow's Wednesday. We got our hot topic, so we want to make sure you tune in for that. But, you know, this has been father-son conversation about Pastor Austin's 9 years and just scratching the surface on it. So we pray that everyone has a blessed night tonight. We hope that you enjoy this conversation. And we look forward to many more things coming from P2P TV. So until we meet again, be blessed, be safe. And we pray that we can see you all sometime in the near future. We pray
sooner rather than later. Eh?
So everyone have a great night. God bless you. If you tuned in late, you can always go back and watch it from the beginning. And you'll be able to do that on all of our networks. All right. Y'all stay safe and be blessed. Peace out from P2P TV.
Peace out. Good night, everybody.